Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Academy of Animated Arts Community Critique and Chill for the 23rd of July. We have a couple different, just two different submissions. One is a cool animation from
Ash.
John,
I know what it's.
which we also have some reference for as well. All right, and then we also have one screen from Close Encounters for the Three Whys of Lighting challenge. So we'll start off with John's. So John, if you want to talk to us a little bit about what you're going for, I know we also have some great reference to look at as well.
Sure. Are you guys seeing share screen on your end?
Yes,
Mhm.
you should be able to see like a like watch stream button.
Okay. Let me click that and that would make a difference. Yeah, so I'm trying to create kind of like the warmth atmosphere of like a kid's bedroom, but it's a nighttime scene. So most of the lighting is coming from interior lighting with very warm, yellowish sort of look to it. And I wanted to make sure that the characters were well lit, so that there's good foreground, background separation.
Nice. Anyone have any thoughts right off the bat?
I think the character on screen left is looking really, really nice. I'm just trying to spot the differences between like what makes her look a little bit nicer to me than the little
Yeah,
young boy.
I think one of the things I agree. I really like the shaping on her, and I think she's
Mhm.
looking great. I think there's this shadow right here
Mhm.
um, that is distracting me. Like it kind of feels like a blob, um, more so than a
Yeah.
shadow.
The values of the shadow side, I think, is also more successful on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like on her chest and her arm, it looks like dark in a way that's like believable for a well lit room, whereas he's a little bit more flat, it feels like, or more lit in the shadows as well.
Yeah, there's
I
less contrast on
Yeah,
him.
I am getting the feeling because there's a little shadow from the hair on her face, on her right screen left cheek. So it feels like there's a maybe a fill light from screen left that's causing that. Mm, Maybe you could. I think you could stand to soften the light that's causing that shadow
Agreed.
and maybe bring it down just a little bit, or if see if it's affecting the boy more than the other character.
I think something else you could play around with to, because I know you're, like you said, you're dealing with, you have a wall in the background, and then you have the table foreground. Whereas some of these, like this one, has these big windows behind. This one seems to be lit from a big daylight source, but like even that, like they're doing that. You don't actually see the window, but you feel that there's an outside source coming in, and then in here, you can also feel an outside source coming in with the like gobo blinds that they have here, kind of implying there's a window and there's moonlight coming in, and then you also have this like warm overhead light. And I think you could benefit from figuring out a little bit more where the sources are. Like when we look right here, it feels like there's a light right here
Mhm.
just shining into them, like Diana was saying. Um, and so it might be, if you work on like what the motivation is for the light, maybe that'll help kind of give it a bit more like believability in the room. And maybe if you put like a gobo on the light too, you could get a little bit more shaping on the back wall. I do like what's going on with like this square, but I think you could like um, maybe just play with getting some more interesting shaping.
Mhm. And you did write that you were looking for kind of polished notes rather than big notes. So I think the background, like it's not flat. I think there's enough kind of shaping where the sides get darker. So if you're not able to like do a whole new thing, I think maybe again softening. I'm guessing those are shadows on the wall, on the right side, cast by all the items. Softening that a little bit, plus adding maybe a little bit of atmospheric haze in the depth, like just behind them. I think that like your the one of the goals it looks like you had was like strong foreground separation for the characters. And I think it's pretty successful because of the you're getting the hue separation. You're doing that really well. But adding a little bit of atmosphere, I think, will also help. So lifting some of the values in the back. Yeah, that's if you don't want to go in and kind of figure out a new, lighting structure
Yeah,
for yeah, I think a lot of things are working. I just am noticing a lot of hard-ish shadows, and I think that's kind of the main thing that's distracting. Like,
yeah,
I think that one light that I already talked about, it's casting that shadow with the bow tie on the shirt of the boy, and it's just those lines are kind of moving around and catching
hmm
attention. And that would be a good thing to kind of go through and see if you can soften, make the radius of the lights bigger, like go through your scene and see if you can change that up a little bit. And I think that'll be a good
yeah,
change.
yeah. I think also like this moment here with this lizard friend, I feel like he both right now like he's the brightest thing in the scene and the blurriest thing in the scene, and so there's a lot of humor I feel like we're missing, and a lot of attention being drawn to him when we have a hard time kind of making out exactly what's happening. So I'd maybe think about like playing around with your depth of field, maybe kind of bringing back some of the clarity to the foreground, um, and then kind of depending on if in comp or whatever you just if you're able to go back into the scene, play around with just making him not as bright, so he kind of gets a little bit more kind of like placed into the scene. But if the light's just like right here, like I kind of feel it is, it'll probably be tough to do that in just comp.
I want to say, I do enjoy that the character on the train, though, like as they move off the screen, like they that hit into shadow, just kind
Mm-hmm.
of that transition off. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, I love seeing that thumb just in that last second.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can really tell that they're moving through light, which is definitely interesting. But yeah, I think like Forrest said, just keep the thumb in focus a little bit longer and we'll be able to read a little bit better.
I do really like a lot of what's going on in the background. Like I think it
Mhm.
like the harsh shadows work for things like this, like the
Yeah.
spaceship shadow. There's lots of really like I like a lot of the colors too, like having this like dark blue behind this
Mhm.
guy, and then you have it in the backpack on the wall. There's nice cohesion. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, because I made that note, I'll clarify too that like because the background is static, that you don't need to like soften the shadows as much. It's more noticeable when it's moving around like on the characters. So I would more focus on softening the shadows on the characters and the foreground. The back, I think, could stand to be softened a little bit, but it's not like I think you should get rid of them or anything like that. So
mm.
just clarify, just to clarify.
Any other comments, anyone?
If we're talking polish, I think if you could find a way, because I think the boys, the eye dings on her, I think are working quite nicely for the most part. On him, I think, yeah, like this frame where it kind of goes into his pupil, if you can find a way to change it or do a separate pass for the iding where it's like in a yeah, in a off the pupil, um, I think that would help the character a lot. Like do a separate pass on the eyes. That because the eyes is definitely like a polish thing that you would do toward the end. And I think that would help out the character a lot. Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions, John?
You were mentioning like going through light. Would it be of any interest maybe to do something like a gobo where the train is going through? Would that be too distracting if it went shadow light too much?
What would you think motivates that? Like, what would the motivation for the gobo be? Do you think?
Just to show motion, so
Yeah, my recommendation would be to like kind of think about the story you're trying to tell, and then like if you can use a gobo to help tell that more, to give more dimensionality to the scene. Like this, like right now you have this nice like big shadow here that feels like maybe there's a hallway on the other side of the room, but then I like, and that's like this really nice like almost like moonlight feel to it. But then we have like this very warm light here that I don't exactly know where it's coming from. And so if you maybe like further kind of develop that side of it, I think maybe the answer to your question about that will become clear. At least that's my thinking.
Yeah. If you are thinking about, I think the main thing that we are noticing is that we feel a lot of light sources in the scene. It's clear that there's multiple light sources, but I think an image is more successful if there's like a few sources that you can instantly recognize exactly where it's coming from, and you can kind of imagine what kind of light source we're talking about. And I think that's kind of something that's a little bit missing from this piece is that we can tell that it's like an interior light plus a moonlight, but we're not entirely sure, is it an overhead light like one of those lights that's on the ceiling, or is it a lamp? Um, that's something you could think about. I feel like, because yeah, now that I'm looking more at it, it does feel like there's an overhead lamp plus like a lamp
Mm-hmm.
that's off to the left. And I think it's always good to, if you have multiple light sources in a scene, I think it's always good to make sure that you know which one is the primary light source, because they can't all be the same kind of brightness or the same. They can't all be trying to get the same amount of attention. And I'm leading to, I think something that could be cool is dropping it in the chat. If you have an overhead light, lamp light, or something from the left, like a little bit of volume could also help us really read it better, which interior light source is like your primary and where it's coming from. So I think that would be another thing that's like not too much of a hassle to do at this point, but I think it would help reinforce where your light source.
Yeah, and I do think like Diana's saying and things, and about like the where the light's coming from. While she was talking about that in the overhead, I can see that it feels like this nice light that's hitting her and giving her the shaping is coming from here, but for him, it's hitting his head and then bouncing off, and so he's losing out on all of this really nice shaping. And so he's kind of got whatever, like there's like this bottom light coming up, and then whatever else is being used, but maybe adjusting the placement of it to swing it out so that it's also kind of hitting his face, and then like making sure you're getting like keeping these soft shadows and being aware of like these kind of more harsh shadows, and softening those up will help. So that's one way you could do, is just like use this as your main driver, give it a little bit of atmosphere like Diana's
Mhm.
talking about, and then bring down the influence of the light over here.
Yeah, I think out of those two main kind of warm light sources that we're sensing, I think if you kind of picked one and lowered the other, I think it would, because if you brought down that light off to the side, you could like add a rim light that could pop the lizard character out. Or if you chose
Mm-hmm.
to keep the light on the left as the main source, like he would still be bright and be able to read better. So obviously a lot of ways to go about it, but I think that's something that would be worth doing, kind of.
We threw a lot at you, but
I know. I was like,
but
don't want to go
It's okay.
it's
That's
really
what notes
cool.
are for.
So
Yeah, and if you have like any follow-up questions, or while you're kind of trying to work through what we said and things don't make sense or things don't work out, feel free to definitely reach back out. Happy to clarify and take it
Of
further.
course. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
of course, more than happy to. So, but what? Thanks for. I see that you sent me the video, Diana. I'll put that up in a minute after we do this one, which
Mhm.
is this is the for one of the first submission, one of the first, like I think this is the first homework assignment for the Academy of Animated Art uh, lighting course, is the find a photo that you feel like covers the three goals of lighting: creating mood, visual shaping, and directing the viewer's eye. And so this was submitted by Charlie, um, who highlighted the like overall green color palette, the way the others are surrounding the main character, and the subtle rim around his head to make him pop from the darkness. And so I believe he's referring to this character here. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, so I can't remember.
Yeah.
But like that, like yeah, I definitely am. When I do the squint test, I'm drawn to this character here.
Which one?
This guy.
Mm. Yeah, I'm definitely drawn to the three. Like it kind of makes a triangle for me. Two guys in the glasses, and then actually, yeah. I, Either way, I just think, yeah, it definitely hits all the things that are the three elements, and it's uh, really nice soft shaping. And then how did they even get the little rim light on the head of the guy in the foreground with the headset?
Yeah, I feel like it's like right up here, kind of coming down, hitting this guy,
It's
him.
cool.
Um, yeah, without seeing this movie, I almost feel like this guy could also be the main character, just like from hit the shirt color choice, with everyone else kind of in like these like darker
Mm.
colors, and then there's this kind of brighter blue here. Um, this is a good one where we can for source, where you can tell they're all
Mhm.
looking at a screen. You can see the screen like reflecting in the glasses of these characters. That's you know it's a harsh light, and we're seeing these harsh kind of shadows. They're not super harsh, they're still a bit soft, but because we know it's a computer screen, that feels believable.
It's also nice to see the computers from the 80s that are basically switches and stuff, and
Hmm.
green screens and stuff like that.
You can
Yeah, I'm
hear
like,
like
are they in a cockpit?
yeah, you can hear like boop, boop.
Yeah. Reminds me of war games.
Yeah, sweet. Well, yeah, thank you for submitting, Charlie, and yeah, excited to see what you do next. And now I will get Diana's up and running.
Finally, final,
Yeah,
final,
I'm so
final
excited for you.
underscore MP4. Yeah, and this time it has sound, so that's fun.
Ooh, nice. Were you able to hear my sound at the beginning when I was? Will everyone be able to hear
I
it if I?
think so, but maybe we
Maybe not.
should.
But
Yeah.
if you want to listen to the sound, you can watch it on the
Yeah.
channel or on Diana's socials, which I assume you've done already.
Yeah.
But yeah, how does it feel to be done with it? I know that this one was a long one to, getting used to work and all that.
It was weird because it was the first one because all the ones that I did like before or earlier last year, I worked on it like, 1 month straight or 2 months straight, and that was that. But this one I was just like working on random weekends and it just took months and months and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know when I'll feel like I put enough time in to the point where I'm comfortable with finaling it.
Yeah.
But it finally happened. But yeah, I think finally I definitely I like how it looked, and the round of notes from last critique were good too. I think I noticed there was sunlight that I was clamping down in the first shot that was like carrying over to the second shot.
Mm,
So when it cuts, I think it cuts better because of
yeah.
the notes from critique last time.
Yeah, it cuts much better.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I like her coming down into that light,
Hmm.
which I don't know if that's the same or different before, but it feels really nice.
Yeah, it's slightly different, but mostly the same idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, congrats, Diana. It
Thank
looks
you.
awesome.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
really great.
Thanks for all the feedback and kind words that got me all the way here because I was like, I never was wanting to give up, but then there were points when I was like, I wonder if it'll ever get finished because it feels like
Yeah.
taking forever.
It's definitely been a learning curve, like figuring out when to do personal projects when you're no longer doing school and you're working in lighting, and then you're just
Mhm.
like, at the end of the day, like, am I gonna go and do some more lighting, or am I gonna go and like look away from the computer
Yeah.
and like recover? So, uh, great job, like kind of adjusting to that and finding the time while also still doing stuff out and about in the world.
Yes. It'll just take longer, but it's all fun and once it's done, it just feels really, really good. So once you finish something. So
Sweet. Well, I think that's a great note to end on.
yeah.
So,
Diana, I
go
have a
ahead,
question.
Diana. Oh, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead,
yeah.
Andre.
Uh, you're the one that did all the materials, right?
Oh, not all. My friend did all the set
Oh,
textures and
okay.
I did the
Did
characters.
you
Yeah.
do her eyes?
Yeah.
That looks really nice.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm most happy about in this one. That's kind of feels different than what I've done before is
Yeah,
the
definitely.
eyes. Like shader wise, it's actually pretty much the same as the eyes I've done before. It's just I took the time to do like light linking or whatever to make it actually look nice.
But yeah, it does look really, really cool.
Yeah, that
I was,
shot where she looks up,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
um, right there, like
yeah.
those eye dings do so much for like that dreaming, like, and yearning.
Yep.
I was going for like Encanto style eyes. That's sort of where I looked and was like, I'm gonna
And
try to do that.
was that procedural or
The
did you
eye shader, the eye texture is
yeah,
procedural.
okay.
Yeah, it's really simple, honestly. Uh,
Jasmine has a
Procedural eye.
class that does procedural eyes, right? Is that
Yeah.
kind of like the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think my main thing was so you want those like imploded noise that's kind of if this is the eye, it's kind of like going like in that
Yeah.
direction, like the
Mhm.
sun. You want that noise. The main thing for me was the no the so from the pupil to the sclera, it's like goes from dark to light to dark. That was like the main thing that in all the eyes that I've done, I think that's was a small thing that made a big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
You're talking about like how we go back to the dark over here.
Yeah. Yeah. And the pupil, like you just want it to be black enough where the noise kind of feels like it's blended. Things like that. It's really small tweaks and it's pretty simple, but makes a the
Very.
eyes just makes difference. Glad you like it.
Sweet. Well, thank you everybody for submitting, for giving feedback, and for just hanging out. And yeah, we'll stop the recording and then just hang out afterwards. So see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.